my post editing skills or not.
Not back. Keep changing position.
Yeah.
Stand up on here, don't they?
Yeah. But it's like me turning the cap the other way, sort of in the middle of the take. Yeah, exactly. All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're ready. I have Tim Wallace here from Content and Code. Check him out on Twitter here.
Hello there.
Yeah. And Tim, you just held this amazing presentation on the battle of teamwork, yeah?
Yes.
So what's going on right now with teamwork and the big software players?
So essentially right now, you've got a big change happening in work. You've got about 5 times the amount of collaboration is happening in the workplace right now. People are on twice as many teams as they used to be a few years ago. And so what you're finding is, people are requiring much more or much better collaboration software.
Yeah.
And so what you're finding is you're finding players like Microsoft and Facebook and Dropbox and Cisco even are getting involved in trying to win that battle.
So if you're an end user and you're watching Team Collab right now and trying to figure out, you're sitting there, you have some project stuff in Dropbox, you have some in Workplace by Facebook, you have some in a SharePoint site, and it's just painful.
Yeah.
What can you do? What can you look for? How can you improve your situation?
So I guess there's 2 things really. Firstly, there's kind of ease of use. What's going to be easy for you to use. That's the biggest thing really. If you want really basic use cases, then something like Dropbox or something like OneDrive could be perfect for you if you just have a very, very small team need to collaborate. However, I think if you're an enterprise, you've got much bigger things to think about. You've got the General Data Protection Regulation coming in, GDPR, this month. That's going to be a really, really big issue.
So this is if you're like a business decision maker in the IT department or something like that.
Yeah.
But for the regular Joe, like what I would experience is, I'm working on a team and some external comes in and they say, hey, let's do this in Slack, right?
Yeah.
And I'm in Dropbox for that topic or I'm in Microsoft Teams or somewhere else, but they're in a different place.
Yeah.
So what should you do? Do you just have to, work with all of these apps at the same time?
I think the thing to think about is how important is the content to you. So if you wanted to work with me and you sent me an invite from Slack and you're working on my content, I would say, no, you're going to work in my content management system. And my preference is to be SharePoint and OneDrive, because I know I can regulate my content there, I can secure it, I can put rights management on it, I can retire that content, I can classify it.
So that's what you like. So if the content is important to you, then you would want them to come to your office.
That's exactly right. You come into my office, come into my system, and I'd manage you in that way. And the great thing with most goods, with things like OneDrive and SharePoint, I can federate with you, so you can log in with your current username and password, and I can just get you straight into my systems, give you the right permissions, and when we finish working together, I can turn your permissions off. Right. So that's a great thing about the.
So that's sort of a temporary shared meeting room or working space that you can work on. Yeah. That's cool, but it's still sort of far-fetched. But I think we have I'm trying to get 3 tips for everyone out there. 3 tips to know how to behave in the battle of teamwork, right? So maybe number 1 is you need to decide whether to work in your own office or in their office.
Exactly right.
Is that a thing? Is that a way to sort of go about it?
I think so. I think who owns the content and how important is the content? I think
So it's the content and then it's the people.
Yes.
Right?
Exactly right.
That's what I see very often. People forget about it because there's so many systems and tools and preferences on how to go about it, and you forget. Yeah. It's really just about the content and the people.
Well, I think the content, and if you find out, for example, the majority of the people in one system, then maybe this makes sense to use that system if it's a certain way. And I guess the other thing is it depends what you're trying to do with that content. For example, there's a big difference between editing legal documents to editing media files, and different systems have different abilities. So, for example, you might look at what you're trying to do or trying to achieve. For example, if you need structured workflow and processes, you might need to choose a system or a place to manage that content that has that ability.
If you're able to be specific, if you can be very concrete on a specific sort of work scenario, if you don't try to overgeneralize, we had that with folders and file servers, and we had folders and hierarchies. It doesn't get more generic. That's right. And I think right now, if you can get specific, like legal, or even more specific, if you can get sort of corporate finance legal, Because they do M&As and they work in a certain way with certain privacy issues.
Yeah.
And if you do like criminal law, it's completely different ball games. You have to really dig in.
You do, that's right. And I think even more importantly as well, for example, do you work in a regulated industry? You know, there's a huge amount to think about if you work in a regulated industry. There might be regulation that says that you need to keep your documents within your country of residence, or or process it within Europe, for example. So you need to think about if you're putting documents onto Dropbox or Google Drive, where are they going? Are they going outside your country? You need to think about these things. And we've got a number of legal firms we're talking to right now, and that's a very specific issue for them.
So you just did this sort of freshly baked market survey where you sort of looked at some of the teamwork tools that are out there.
Yeah.
What would you say are sort of the key takeaways for and remember these are for end users, for people that just want to be productive?
Yeah.
What are the key takeaways of Workplace by Facebook, by Microsoft Teams, and Slack?
Yeah. So let's set the first one you mentioned, which is Facebook Workplace. So Facebook Workplace isn't so much a place where you go to manage documents and manage content really. It's much for a social place to go. It's more around just like the consumer Facebook is, we'd have social updates and team updates. So if your need is to really connect with people, connect with teams, and have everyone quickly update on mobile apps, it's a great tool for you.
But everyone knows Facebook, right?
Yes.
You don't have, you won't need any user training. It's like everyone, my mom knows Facebook.
Yes.
So wouldn't that sort of put them way ahead of the pack, or?
It would do, but it's best for managing photos and managing ad hoc events and managing just status updates of people. It's not designed to manage documents. I mean, if you ask the average Facebook users how many PowerPoint presentations or how many reports they write and they store on Facebook, that is not a tool they use for that.
Yeah, I don't actually commonly share a lot of Word documents on Facebook. No. When I sort of think about it, I don't do the sort of invitation to the children's birthday and post it as a Word document.
No, and have people edit it and approve it, and your
Maybe
wife
I should do that.
Yeah.
I could do like invitation in PowerPoint with cool animations and stuff.
Yeah.
With Clippy.
Yeah.
You do Clippy.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. No, that I see that.
Yeah.
I see that. The documents.
Yeah. So I think the documents are key. So if documents are important to you and your team to collaborate on, then Facebook Workplace isn't really structured and designed for that. It wasn't its design purpose.
Right. That makes sense.
And then you look, if you want sort of basic document management, you've got things like Box or Dropbox. They're specifically designed. They're literally folders in the cloud that you can synchronize down to your computer. They're very simple and very easy to understand.
Yeah, a lot of people like Dropbox a lot.
Yeah.
But it's still just folders.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But maybe that's why people like it.
They do
just
like
folders.
It. Yeah. I mean, I think the reason people like it is because it's simple. But the challenge you have for them is it's very, very simple, which is good to use. But then the trouble is, it doesn't really have the modern thinking that something like Microsoft Teams has behind it. Because all you're doing with an old hierarchical set of folders is you're just working in the same ways you worked 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And actually teamwork and collaboration has moved on since then. So then you come to products like Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams changes the game.
Yeah.
Essentially by there, within sort of one collaboration tool set, you've got all your files and folders, and you can have workflows in there, you can have labeling, you can have classification, so you can have really quite sophisticated stuff, or you can just really simply have a set of files and folders if you just want a basic information structure.
Yeah, and this, I'm sorry, but this is where I have to time out, and I have to do disclaimer.
Yeah.
We are here on Microsoft's bill.
We are.
All right? So, but what would you do? Huh? What would you do? If someone said, you can go here, if you listen to us. Yes. Okay, sorry. So that's disclaimed. But at least to me, the important part.
Yeah.
Where are we? There we are.
We can move.
Yeah. So at least to me, the important part is to see what really makes people more productive and what makes gets more done with more fun.
Yes.
At work, because I feel it's just becoming too much.
Yeah.
Right, with all the tools and all the apps and everything's going on.
Yeah.
So sort of without giving sort of the entire Microsoft sales pitch.
Yeah.
But I do get your point that Teams is sort of, it's built ground up. It's not like Word with a facelift.
No, that's right. Yeah, I think the difference is, and I think kudos to Slack, because I think Teams has borrowed a lot of the sort of the usability, I think, from Slack and kind of what they've achieved with one product or one tool is bringing some chat. So where you're talking and conversing around a topic or subject or organising things, you've got your files and folders straight in where you want it to do. You can bring other apps and things into there as well. So it's a great place for actual teamwork. If you're collaborating on various projects and things, it's just purely designed for doing that. Which is again very different from somewhere like Facebook Workplace, which is much more of a social place where you can have social updates and things. It's very different.
But Slack in comparison seems really it seems young and hip and cool, and they had this advert in the New York Times or whatever, where they were taunting, was it Microsoft or Google or something? That's right, and you just like them.
You do, that's right,
You just like them. And in my previous team, we were using Slack, and that was sort of what introduced me to sort of the chat stuff at work. And we really liked it, but then with the multitude of channels and the chatter and everything going on, that too got a little bit challenging.
Yeah, and it becomes quite overwhelming, and suddenly you're in 200 teams and you've got too much chat, and then you can't find anything again.
Yeah.
So it is a really hybrid thing. I think the one thing is, whatever tool you use, you do need to think about the usability and governance and what you're using it for. So it's very hard to say. I think the thing is, if you're a small business, you've generally got quite simple needs, and something like Microsoft Teams or potentially Slack or even Dropbox might be fine for you.
Yeah.
I think if you're a more than several hundred users, or you're certainly an enterprise, definitely need to look at enterprise software, because it's going to meet your needs, it's going to meet your compliance needs, your data loss protection needs, all those sort of things are things you need to really think about.
So essentially, someone in a company should think.
Yes.
Sort of the point.
Yes.
At some point, someone has to sort of think about, I guess, even strategy and business goals, and try to establish a structure. At least that's been my sort of rule or advice number one is try to have some structure and try to stick to it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. I mean, what we tend to do is when we start working with organisations, we go and do user research. So we go out and we interview 30 or 40 people, and we find out how they work and literally what their jobs are they do every single day, and what technologies they use and what pain points they have, or maybe even not what technology they don't use. They go to meetings, they use pen and paper, things like that. And then we actually say, well, actually, if you put technology in, how would it help you? So actually we start with what someone's trying to do, how do we make their job better?
Right.
And I think that's the key thing. So if you understand what your users need, then it's then quite easy. Then you can look at the various technical solutions and say, actually, this is the best fit for you.
Yeah, if you take the three, the Slack, the Facebook for work, and the Microsoft Teams, you sort of have in comprehensivity, native English speaker, not native English speaker. You have the most features and functions and everything with Microsoft.
Yes.
Right, but then with Facebook, you have is the easiest one to get people to come on board with.
I agree.
So the pain of sort of getting the spread internally is the lowest with Facebook probably.
Yes, I agree.
And then Slack is a cold kidding class.
Yes, exactly right. Yeah.
Sort of. So developers like PR people like you can do shortcuts and fancy stuff.
That's exactly right. Yeah.
And you can do sort of dancing cats, and
you can color it. It looks really nice. It's pretty. People
you can actually do dancing cats in all of these apps.
You can, and you can do memes and GIFs in all of them as well. Yeah.
And the other thing is that they all have their own mobile app. They all have a web UI.
Yeah.
And they all have a desktop app. No Facebook.
No, Facebook doesn't have a desktop app. No.
Facebook is web browser only.
Yeah.
But Teams has a desktop and a mobile, and Slack has a desktop and a mobile.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, and they both web.
Yeah. But that's maybe where you're sort of heading off in the wrong direction if you're doing this feature by feature.
I agree.
Evaluation. Okay. So one last tip for the road.
Yeah.
If someone out there is sitting there and they see their project in a proper Chuck Norris split between the two trucks, what should they do? Should they try to convince everyone to come to their office, or sort of compromise and just take all their stuff and go to the other office, or stay in the split, or?
It's hard to say. I mean, it depends on what you're saying. You're saying two different organisations working together, or are you saying within one organisation you've got a mix of people doing different things?
Let's try and keep it simple and stay in one organisation for now.
Yeah, look at your user base maybe and see if your user base is heavily using one tool, then it might be hard to prise it away from them and get them to use another tool. But if they're not, I think you need to understand what they do, but then cost is a big factor as well. That's one point we haven't touched on yet. And if you're a company, then you're going to be concerned about cost.
So someone actually has to pay for something.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. Essentially, if you want something enterprise,
I should know that.
Yeah.
So is there a significant sort of cost difference, or does it depend on your usage scenario between the three? Right now, and now it's May 2018, so this changes a lot.
Yeah, so in terms of cost, and this is very, very high level cost, you've got, there's cost differences between all three products. If you just take the basic Facebook product, that's the cheapest product, but it has the least amount of functionality. But you can then add on solutions to it, which then make it pretty much the same price or more expensive as, say, Microsoft Teams or the whole Office 365 suite. If you take Slack is sort of in the middle band there, and that has a good amount of functionality. It has, chat, it has a place to store your documents, it has, you can do meetings, you can do video and voice calling, all of those sort of things. So that's that sort of medium there. And then Microsoft, if you buy the whole Office 365 suite, that's a sort of premium product, but it has a ton of stuff in it. You can just buy a smaller SKU like the E1 SKU or even the F1 SKU. Sorry, I'm talking jargon here. That's what happens when you work with Microsoft.
That was Greek, but we're in Greece.
We're in Greece.
So Greek is okay.
Yeah. Then you can kind of price match. So So different price points depending on what functionality you want, really.
But the thing we did in my previous team, when we were actually using Slack, we did the bots for our issue tracker, for our ticketing system. We integrated with all kinds of other software, and they have a cost too. So you should consider sort of.
Yes.
You need to look at the bigger picture.
You do.
It's hard to compare sort of one-to-one on cost.
It is.
As well.
It is. Yeah.
So,
it's very easy to buy something at a headline price of say $4 per user per month, and then buy a little bit of integration at $1 per user per month, and another one here and another one here, and suddenly you're up at $17 per user per month before you even know it, with all the various things you've got on it. Some workflows, some routing, some compliance stuff. So things costs can mount up, especially like pay-as-you-go model.
So if someone out there want to try a new tool because they're frustrated with the ones they have, are they just as easy to get started with? Can you do it yourself, or do you have to sort of email IT and wait for 6 months and then get a reply about the project that started? Is the implementation time, can you start on your own? If you're just a do-gooder, you're a Team Collab subscriber, and you just want a teamwork to be better? Yeah.
I mean, I think you can start on your own. It depends on your organisation, really. But certainly you could go out on the web, you could evaluate a few of the bits of software, you could certainly start free trials with virtual software we've talked about. So I think it wouldn't be difficult to have a look and have a go and see what you want, I think, Yeah. But I mean, I recommend if you're in a big enterprise, you're going to involve IT at some point. Shadow IT, as it's called, when you're kind of using IT systems not authorised by IT, can sometimes get completely out of control for a lot of organisations. And one point on that that's very important is if you're not paying for the software, typically, quite often, if you put organisational content on another platform and you don't pay for it, often that content becomes the owner of Facebook or the owner of Slack or the owner of something else, and so that might be against your company's policy. So just be careful about those things. Just be cautious of what you do, especially if it's just test content. It's not much to worry about. If you innocuous files. But actually, if it's important documents, just be careful if you're not paying for something.
All right. So if you don't pay, they will claim ownership to your stuff.
Maybe potentially. Maybe. So some everyone's different, but just be careful where you upload stuff to.
Probably in a Wingdings font size 2.1.
That thing you just clicked accept to.
Yeah.
It's in there somewhere probably.
All right. So that's important to keep track on. If you're way too lazy to do any of that, I will scour YouTube and I'll find videos for all three products so you can at least get a touch and feel on what these things are. You probably know some of them from before. So with that, it is boat trip time, Tim.
It's beer o'clock.
It's beer o'clock for us, and I guess we're going somewhere there.
Yes.
All right, let's head out.
Cool.
Ta-ta!